Catus Maximus here. This is going to be kind of a discombobulated video because it's kind of difficult. Just don't have the great environment for properly testing this type of stuff. But this was a promo item. The only type that I take, which are just no strings attached. They just are willing to say, you know, they sent me an email, do you want to try out one of our projectors? I said, I'd try out your 1080 projector. You just got to send it to me, though, you know. Don't do Amazon reviews. I don't get paid. It's just somebody wants to send me a free product. I make videos every day, so at least it helps out for a video for one day. Overall, for the $170 that they want for this DBPower company, first, it generally works as advertised, but they have some things that they need to improve on. One is the optics. It has a pretty short focal range from about 5 to 12 feet. It has to be within that range. It can't focus any closer than, 5 feet, and it can't focus any further away than about 12 feet. They need to deal with that. The keystone, even though it's manual, actually works, but the darn thing has to be absolutely square with the wall, otherwise one side will be out of focus, which is a little bit annoying. If you get it really square, then generally you can get it pretty in focus, but they do need to improve the optics some still. And this 1/4 inch bung here, the way it's raised up on this, is a big problem, because whatever you mount it to, it wants to wobble on that. They should have put a big circular area here or some other bumps to help stabilize it. Or just made this flush with the case. But that right there is actually surprisingly annoying. You'll have this mounted somewhere, and when you're walking across the room, it'll be like doing this. Even if it's on the ceiling, it'll still kind of bounce around just because it's being held on a point with no lateral support. So they do need to improve on that. But quite frankly, for how expensive projectors have been, especially decent ones, they're still really expensive. For $170, they're throwing a lot at you. They also need to fix the problem where it only supports 32 gig or smaller memory cards. That's an issue. But they did get a lot of stuff right. It has a decent amount of processing power, so it's actually reasonably responsive. Has a good array of inputs. Has a terrible, terrible speaker, but at least it has Bluetooth and an audio, 1/8 inch audio out, so at least you can hook up a much better sound to it. And the screen mirroring did work just fine. So if you're, this would be a great thing, a projector for kids with their video game system. If you're somebody who does actually project stuff from your phone, or even use your phone as a primary media device, surprising number of people do use their phones as their primary media device. At least you can just connect to it and immediately just start broadcasting whatever's on your screen, browsing the internet on, a bigger surface area, etc. And for the range that's designed to operate at, I think it's pretty good. They need to fix, and this is notorious for Chinese companies to not have their specifications in order. But the sticker on the outside of the box said 7200 lumens. Their website says 8000, so they need to figure it out. But it definitely does seem reasonably bright. Unfortunately, it oversaturates unless you have it on the lower color temperature modes, which kind of reduces the output brightness in order to give you more dynamic range. And I do like the fact that they included an app, even though it's not a very high quality built-in video decoder, at least it has it, and it supports a variety of different formats. I actually tried a variety of different videos on the memory card, and it played every one of them back. A couple, it wouldn't decode the sound, but all of them played the video back, and most of them, it did play the sound back. It's just that the decoder quality isn't super great. But really, for the price, and being willing to give you a free Fire Stick or Chromecast if you register the product, it is pretty competitive. And having an LED light, at least you don't have to deal with the extreme heat coming from the halogen. The fan's a little noisy, but not too bad in this. This isn't putting out very much heat because it is LED, and you just never have to worry about the bulb. Another thing is, nowhere online in their manuals does it tell me what the heck this little drawer is for. It's too small to hold. It's only big enough to basically hold memory cards or USB sticks. I mean, I don't understand what the heck that thing is for. But you can't complain too much. They actually did an okay job hitting that price target with the number of features it has. The wireless stuff is, a big help. I mean, I could see this easily. Something like this, easily at preschools and all sorts of places like that, where you want to have a decent, a an acceptably decent projector, but you don't want to have some expensive one where you're worried about it at all. Something like this, it's 175 bucks. Yeah, it's 175 bucks. It's a lot better than $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 for an Epson. And if some liquids get on it, you're not, pulling your hair out worrying about damaging the lens when you clean it, that type of stuff. The lens cover they could work on the fitment of that as well. Anyway, sorry for the rest of this video being a little bit kind of discombobulated and chopped up, but couldn't pass up an opportunity on a high definition LED LCD projector. I mean, I still think these are pretty cool, and this thing would still be pretty cool at a barbecue or hanging out with friends. You can just throw it somewhere, plug it in, tie up a sheet, put a couple of weights on the sheet. You don't need a whole screen. And just be able to broadcast stuff from your phone, watch YouTube from your phone, that type of thing. It's probably going to be the best thing about it. And the fact that you can hook up a Bluetooth speaker just makes it that much better. And this is something that's a bit interesting. They're actually, anybody who buys one of these, apparently if you leave a review of any consumer, you'll get a choice of a stand for it, a Chromecast, projector screen, or a Fire TV stick, which actually the Chromecast and the Fire TV stick is actually maybe even the screen. Nonetheless, if you're going to ask for reviews, at least give people free stuff for it, and that's actually reasonable. It's actually reasonable to say, hey, if you leave a review, they are not saying they're saying your great shopping experience. You don't have to leave. You could, I assume, leave your terrible shopping experience and still get your free gift, but it's an interesting thing. A quick start guide, which actually, it seems pretty reasonable. We'll take a look at it. And then a regular user manual. Do have infrared receivers both on the front. There's our full and on the back VGA. And the people kind of wonder, it's because so many projectors are used in educational and commercial and institutional environments, and it's still a vast majority, probably 90%, 95% of all projectors sold are for commercial purposes. That's why they still include VGAs to be compatible with legacy. A couple of HDMI ports, a couple of USB ports, AV in and out, and even a little micro SD card slot. And apparently they have no symbols, but it also has built-in, not just Wi-Fi so you can cast from your phone, but built-in Bluetooth. So it actually has a couple simple little 3-watt speakers, but you can Bluetooth and connect it to whatever Bluetooth speaker you have. So at least they're getting a little more modern with some of those options, such as the Bluetooth stuff. They actually do have some stats found out, so they're claiming 75 watts of output. They're not saying that it's good for presentation purposes, so it's obviously still not going to be super bright, but we'll see how it is. Coated lenses. It is manual keystone, so you have two adjustments. You have a keystone adjustment, and you have the manual lens adjustment. At least it does come with a lens cover. At least that's wise of them. 50,000 hours, so less worry about burned out bulbs, and they say it's an LTPS LCD and 1920 by 1080. So anyway, let me spend a minute getting this set up, and let's see how it works. Alright, so here's an idea of what it looks like with the built-in video decoder. You can hear how loud the fan is, and sorry, it's the best way I can place the camera to... I don't have a huge amount of camera equipment, that's for sure. Reasonably sharp. This is using the built-in decoder, and you can plug in the USB stick, and actually supports a wide variety of video formats, although the decoder isn't super great. And I'll double check in the book. I think they're talking about 2 speakers. This thing only has 1 speaker. And right now, I have the volume maxed. Review the DeWalt DCD 701 Extreme Super Compact Brushless 12-volt cordless lithium-ion drill. I'll be doing this as a two-part review. I'll do another video where I do a teardown and just take a look at the inside. I always like to add. At least I can tell on the wall here, it definitely looks like it really is 1080, but I'll be plugging in the computer. Not a lot of ghosting, so it has a reasonable LCD panel. I have the color temperature set to cool. It seems to really boost the brightness. They just overdo the contrast and everything gets really washed out. I'll show you what I'm talking about. If we go into here, color temperature, you can see the difference. That looks kind of normal. That's really getting too bright. Have this warm, and then you can actually adjust it RGB, which is kind of interesting. At least they give you that kind of adjustment. They do not, however, in the menu, well, we got our inputs. You have to manually select the inputs. If you plug a USB key in the USB 2 and you have USB 1 selected, it won't pick it up. Another thing I noticed, which was annoying, they need to fix it. This has a way of doing over-the-air updates because it has Wi-Fi, but it wouldn't read any memory card above 32 gigs. I put in a 64 gig and couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Went back to a 32 gig, both are basically the exact same Kingston cards. It read the 32 gig, so they need to fix that high capacity compatibility issue. What? I don't know, I'm going way too many places. Always hitting the wrong buttons. Takes a while to load one of these HD videos. It does remember and resume. The inside, I always like to add. So at least it's intelligent that way. And as far as the menu, these are our options. Not a whole degree of noise reduction. Some sound modes, which don't make any difference with this speaker. And whether or not you want the Bluetooth on or off. Really, not a whole lot else going on there. Although I'll tell you what, I'm gonna real quick. It does have a micro SD slot on it. Right now, I have a micro SD to USB. And it won't read anything above 32 gigs. So I'm going to real fast see if it will read the 64 gig if I put it right into this TF. And I don't know why they call it TF. Nope. It doesn't support anything above 32 gig. Really disappointing. Optics need to be improved because unless the thing's absolutely dead square with the screen, you're going to have issues. Right now I'm not using a screen, I'm using a pretty white colored orange peel wall, so at least that works pretty decent. Alright, we're going to see if I can't get the darn screen mirroring working. Pretty responsive, at least it has a decent amount of processing power. Android screen. So we can see at the bottom, oh you can't see. There it is, right at the bottom, 60 hertz. So it's not a high refresh, but you know, at least it's not 30 hertz. And using a Samsung S8, Galaxy S8, and we're going to see if this just works. I don't want to change the aspect ratio. Alright, let's... You can see it could be just a little bit sharper. Rotation does work. Some of these I've read the rotation does not work. What do you mean I'm not connected to the internet? I was just connected to the internet. Oh, for some reason, this is a problem with the Samsung phone. This is crazy. If I'm connected via screen mirroring, it won't allow me to use Wi-Fi that I was already connected to. Well, how lame is that? Thanks, Samsung. You're real special.